Diseases of the circulatory system. Unfortunately, diseases of the circulatory system are too common. Cardiovascular diseases, especially heart disease and stroke, are among the leading causes of death and disability in the United States. High blood pressure and a condition known as atherosclerosis are the two main causes of cardiovascular disease. Atherosclerosis is a condition in which fatty deposits called plaque build up on the inner walls of the arteries. High blood pressure. If blood pressure is too high, medical problems may result. High blood pressure or hypertension forces the heart to work harder, which may weaken or damage the heart muscle and blood vessels. People with high blood pressure are more likely to develop coronary heart disease and suffer from other diseases of the circulatory system. Hypertension increases the risk of heart attack and stroke. Consequences of atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis is partially dangerous in the coronary arteries, which brings oxygen and nutrients to the heart muscle itself. If one of these arteries becomes blocked, part of the heart muscle may begin to die from a lack of oxygen. If enough heart muscle is damaged, a condition known as a heart attack occurs. The symptoms of a heart attack include nausea, shortness of breath, and severe crushing chest pain. People who show these symptoms need immediate medical attention. New drugs are available that can increase blood flow enough to save the heart, but they must be given in the early stages of a heart attack to save the heart muscle and prevent death. Blood clots that can form as a result of atherosclerosis may break free and get stuck in one of the blood vessels, leading to a part of the brain. This condition is known as a stroke. Brain cells served by a particular blood vessel gradually die from a lack of oxygen, and brain function in that region may be lost. Depending on what part of the brain they affect, strokes may cause paralysis, loss of ability to speak, and death. Circulatory system health. Like other diseases, cardiovascular diseases are easier to prevent than to cure. Some of the ways of avoiding cardiovascular disease include getting regular exercise, eating a balanced diet, and avoiding smoking. Exercise makes your heart muscle stronger and more efficient. It also helps control your weight, reduces body fat, and reduces stress. A diet low in saturated fat and cholesterol can reduce your risk of developing heart disease as well. High levels of fat and cholesterol in the blood increase the likelihood that it will be deposited onto the artery walls. This process begins in childhood and worsens as you get older. For this reason, you should limit your intakes of food with saturated fat. A low-fat diet will also help control your weight. Being overweight enlarges the circulatory system, causing the heart to pump harder to force blood through it. The cardiovascular system is also damaged by smoking. You will learn more about the effects of smoking later in this chapter. Chapter 37-1, Section Assessment. Number 1. Key Concept. List the structures of the circulatory system. Answer. The human circulatory system consists of the heart, a series of blood vessels, and the blood that flows through them. Number 2. Key Concept. Compare the functions of the three types of blood vessels in the circulatory system. Answer. As blood flows through the circular system, it moves through three types of blood vessels: arteries, capillaries, and veins. Arteries are large vessels that carry blood from the heart to the tissues of the body. Capillaries are the smallest of the blood vessels, and the walls of capillaries are only 1 cell thick, and are so narrow that blood cells must pass through them in a single file. On the other hand, veins are, once blood has passed through the capillary system, it must return to the heart, and this job is for the veins. The walls of veins contain connective tissue and smooth muscle. Number 3. Describe the path of blood circulation through the body. Answer. The heart functions as 2 separate pumps. The right side of the heart pumps blood from the heart to the lungs. This pathway is known as the pulmonary circulation. In the lungs, carbon dioxide leaves the blood and oxygen is absorbed. The oxygen-rich blood then flows into the left side of the heart and is pumped to the rest of the body. This pathway is called systemic circulation. Blood that returns to the right side of the heart is oxygen poor because cells have absorbed much of that oxygen and loaded the blood with carbon dioxide. At this point, it is ready for another trip to the lungs. Number 4. What is the role of the nervous system in heartbeat regulation? Answer. Although the heartbeat is not directly controlled by the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system does influence heart rate. Neurotransmitters released by the sympathetic nervous system increases heart rate. Those released by the parasympathetic nervous system decrease heart rate. Chapter 37-2, Blood in the lymphatic system. Just as a plumbing system carries water through a series of pipes to different parts of the house, the circulatory system carries blood through a series of blood vessels to different parts of the body. Blood is a type of connective tissue containing both dissolved substances and specialized cells. Blood collects oxygen from the lungs, nutrients from the digestive tract, and waste products from tissues. Blood helps to regulate factors in the body's internal environment, such as body temperature. In addition, components in blood help to fight infections. Blood can even form clots to repair damaged blood vessels. Blood plasma. The human body contains 4 to 6 liters of blood, which is about 8% of the total mass of body. About 45% of the volume of blood consists of cells, which are suspended in the other 55%, a straw-colored fluid called plasma. Plasma is about 90% water and 10% dissolved gases, salts, nutrients, enzymes, hormones, waste products, and proteins called plasma proteins. Plasma proteins, which perform a variety of functions, are divided into 3 groups: albumins, globulins, and fibrinogen. Albumins and globulins transport substances such as fatty acids, hormones, and vitamins. Albumins also help to regulate osmotic pressure and blood volume. Some globulins fight viral and bacterial infections. Fibrinogen is the protein responsible for the ability for blood to clot. Blood cells. The cellular portion of blood consists of red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Red blood cells transport oxygen, white blood cells perform a variety of protective functions, and platelets help in the clotting process. Platelets are actually fragments of cells derived from larger cells in bone marrow. Red blood cells. The most numerous in the blood are the red blood cells, or erythrocytes. 1 milliliter of blood consists of 5 million blood cells. Red blood cells transport oxygen. They get their color from hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the iron-containing protein that binds to oxygen in the lungs and transports it to tissues throughout the body where the oxygen is released. Red blood cells are shaped like discs that are thinner in the center than along the edges. These cells are produced from cells in red bone marrow. As these cells gradually become filled with hemoglobin, their nuclei and other organelles are forced out. Thus, mature red blood cells do not have nuclei. Red blood cells circulate for an average of 120 days before they are worn out from squeezing through the narrow capillaries. Old red blood cells are destroyed in the liver and spleen. White blood cells. White blood cells, or leukocytes, do not contain hemoglobin. They are much less common than red blood cells, which outnumber them almost 1,000 to 1. Both white and red blood cells are produced from the same population of blood-forming stem cells found in the bone marrow. Unlike red blood cells, however, white blood cells contain nuclei. They may live for days, months, or even years. White blood cells are the army of the circulatory system. They guard against infection, fight parasites, and attack bacteria. There are many types of white blood cells, and they perform a wide variety of important functions. Some protect the body by acting as phagocytes, or eating cells that engulf and digest bacteria and other disease-causing microorganisms. Some white blood cells react to foreign substances by releasing chemicals known as histamines. These chemicals release blood flow into the affected area, producing redness and swelling that are often associated with allergies. A special class of white blood cells, known as lymphocytes, produce antibodies that are proteins that help destroy pathogens. Antibodies are essential to fighting infection and help to produce immunity to many diseases. White blood cells are not confined to the circulatory system. Many white blood cells are able to slip out of capillary walls, travel through the lymphatic system, and attack invading organisms in the tissue of the body. In many ways, white blood cells are the first lines of defense when the body is invaded by disease-causing organisms, making them part of the immune system as well. Like an army with units in reserve, the body is able to increase the number of white blood cells dramatically when a battle is underway. A sudden increase in the white blood cell count is one of the ways in which physicians can tell that the body is fighting a serious infection.